good afternoon, or I could say evening actually, which is crazy given I normally do my morning chats in the morning. Anyway, I want to talk about Michael Mosely diet because I've had a few questions since last night. I will move from the road in a minute so the sound will get better. So a few questions since last night, as there was a documentary, you may have seen it, about the 800 calorie diet. Hi Diana. The 800 calorie diet, Michael Mosely. I don't know how he's actually got his name on as that. I know he's got a book. Hi Sue. I know he's got a book, but that book is based on research by a professor called Roy Taylor, who also has a book on the diet. It's really interesting. Anyway, so let's put it backwards. I think the first thing you got to consider is why you would want to do the diet. Now, the diet is actually based on, like I said, research that was in Newcastle, and this was by a professor called Roy Taylor, and he had a hypothesis that blood sugar level dysregulation, which is essentially type 2 diabetes, if you like, or pre-diabetes, essentially stems from fat around the liver and fat around the pancreas, or in the liver, in the pancreas, and this stops them signaling well. This causes insulin resistance, and that if you can lose weight fast or lose fat fast from that area, that will tend to bring the blood sugar levels back to normal quite fast. And he had that hypothesis, and then in 2011 they tested it, and they want to test it as much as you can. They want to critique it as much as they can to prove that it's right. So then what they did was they took people who were, remember here, these were people who were newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, okay? So they're newly diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. They hadn't had it for more than 4 years. They were also had a BMI of no higher than 45, which you might think that's a high BMI, but it's overweight, but it's not like, there could be people heavier than that who were excluded from the diet and they might not have seen the same results. Now, what they did find was that, which is amazing by the way, is putting people on an 800 calorie diet literally reversed a lot of the beta cell function, so that's your pancreas' ability to secrete insulin, and then essentially their glucose went to normal, if you like, within 7 days in some cases. So consider this. That is amazing. And if you think about for people who want to do this, in terms of maybe they've been told, and I know a lot of ladies come to me and they say, I've had my check and my check has come back that I need to make sure that if my blood sugar levels get any higher, they said I'll have diabetes, etc. And they have a lot of motivation then. They're kind of in a different space, and for some people, if they're ready with the right support, I've worked with someone before who's lost over 20 kilos and put their diabetes in remission, working closely with obviously a nurse as well at the same time. They've come off medication and it's been great. But my point in all this, if you consider that, the population it's in, the fact that this is in people with type 2 diabetes that the study's from, the fact that it doesn't really talk too much about behaviour change. And I'm going to come back to this point because on one hand, the science is great behind it in terms of, for some people, they do better with fast weight loss, with going in hard on it, but they've got to have that support to almost come back out of it. Because what you need to understand from a, psychological point of view is that if you're going in fast and you're losing weight fast, you won't lose weight that fast forever. So say someone loses like 7 pounds in a week, the problem is then when they only lose a pound or half a pound or stay the same, they become disheartened and then they end up giving up. So there needs to be some kind of understanding, psychological help, support in there to help with that. And I know it sounds really obvious, but our expectations go up and then we go, you know what? And then it gets a bit hard. We get a bit hungry and then we're like, is it worth it? Then we give up. So you've got to consider that angle. Then you've got to consider behaviour change in general, how many habits we have. Hi Michelle, that actually have been with us for such a long period of time, and actually just to go cold turkey on it sometimes can actually bring up, especially if someone's got like a binge way of eating, comfort eating is there a lot, all of a sudden we go in hard And then it can have this rebound effect, and then we go back into this cycle. Hi, Diane. Of, oh, you know what? I've failed again. This magical diet that puts diabetes in remission, I can't do it. And I just think it's important to not necessarily not do it, because actually I can say the pros and cons, and for some people, 100% go for it. Hi, Sandra. If you're in a right space, like for me right now, if someone said to me, you now have type 2 diabetes and this is the research on it, would I try it? Yes. If I'm being honest, I would. Does that mean I'd stick to it forever? No. And are they even saying stick to it forever? No. However, you've got to consider I've got habits in place that probably make it easier for me to stick to it than someone who's been battling with their weight for a long period of time, or even, because you've got to remember that type 2 diabetes is only associated with excess fat. It doesn't mean that it's just a weight problem. And it's very complex. Like, I know people have been almost misdiagnosed in that they've been told they've got type 2, but then it finds out it's actually a genetic version, or it is type 1. So it is quite complicated just to say, it's a blanket, you reverse it. Now also you've got to consider that what your main goal is. Like, sometimes just like, I need to lose weight, so I'm going to do this diet, when actually we could make it a lot more simple. And actually, if we boil down to it, hi Pam, what are you struggling with most right now? Well, my meals are fine, but I snack a lot, I comfort you a lot. And then this is where it can get really simple. I've worked with people who've had amazing differences. Hi Deb. Amazing differences just from getting a handle on the low-hanging fruit. So for example, we could go to the planning of meal planning. Hey Jane, we could go into the depth of meal planning, into getting all the ingredients, all that stuff. Or we could just look at the actual problem in terms of snacking. This is a situation that happened the other day. I actually said, don't plan your meals to them. And this is really weird, because planning your meals is great. You delegate decisions to a time where you're tired, from when you're tired. When you're tired and stressed, you're more likely to make worse decisions. So I normally say to plan your meals, but in this situation, planning their meals was an excuse not to start, or a story not to start. Ever had that before? You know what, I'm going to do this, but I need to plan my meals and I need to find the time for that. So I'll probably do that Sunday, and that's another 5 days away. Okay, so what could you do right now? Well, I mainly snack at 4 p.m, 5 p.m. when I finish work and I come in, I'm starving. Okay, so we need to make sure we have protein snacks handy, and you only eat when you're sat down and you eat out of crockery. So we changed her lunch. She has more protein in at lunch, whether that's her usual veggie soup, but now she adds in cannellini beans, or has some protein sauce in there. Then she has protein handy when she comes in, but at the same time, she's only going to eat when she's sat down, because mainly she picks snacks when she's stood up making dinner. Now she's more aware of it. Every time she picks, she writes it down. And I know that's really obvious, but if that happens before and after dinner, and that adds 500 calories a day to your calorie intake, and over the week that's 3,500 calories, that's 1 pound of fat, that's 1 pound of fat loss a week, that's 4 pounds in a month. All of a sudden, you've made one little swap which hasn't taken so much effort that you've never even got started to do, because you need to get the ingredients, you need to plan, and you've made a huge difference right there. And I guess my point here is that there's so many ways to achieve the result you want, whether that's with diabetes, whether that's with blood sugar level regulation, fat loss, health, fitness. There's so many ways that work, and I think the one thing that the BBC and the documentary kind of missed, and the Michael Mosely thing, is what a chance they had to actually just share that you can make small changes with your habits and see a great change. You can actually go into this a bit more in terms of fitting it to your lifestyle. You can include foods, you can go a bit slower. There are many ways that works. This is one way. And I think a part of me, it can be damaging for some people to only see that this is the way, when actually there are many ways. A calorie deficit essentially is the main thing of action. Yes, the fast weight loss can help for a lot of people. Depends on your relationship with food, depends on the space you're in at the moment, how much time you have, your sleep, your rest, because they're all going to impact your ability to stick to it. Hope that helps. There's a ramble on my walk home. And if you're trying it, let me know, because I'll be really interested to see how you get on. And yeah, we can go for now. I know a few ladies who are actually on our 28-day kickstart, and they've watched it and they go, you know what, I'm going to try it. And I was like, great, because let's work together. Let's see what works, what doesn't, and tweak it, because it might be that parts of it work, parts of it don't. What do we do with social events? And that's the part where we can tweak it towards you. Take care, and I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions on that, or how you found that. Comment below. Let me know if you have any questions on it, or if you're trying it yourself. Take care, and speak soon.